Pretty much everyone says they want to be wealthy. It's a universal goal, right? But what if I told you that most of us are playing a game where we don't even know the rules? What if the very definition of wealth we're using is what's holding us back? Well, today, we're going to fix that.
So let's just jump right in. The way you answer this question, it quietly shapes every single financial move you make. So if your core idea, your foundation, is a little bit off, well, your results are going to be way off. Let's start by just blowing up the biggest myth out there. See, this is it right here. This is the big mistake. Most people think wealth is just a big paycheck, right? Earning a ton so you can spend a ton. But the reality? It's so much more powerful than that. True wealth isn't a number in your bank account that you're just going to spend. It is a system that you build.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to start by really digging into that big misconception. Then we'll redefine wealth as this powerful, self-reinforcing system. I'll break down the 3 essential pillars you need to build it, talk about the secret ingredient that makes the whole thing work, and then finally, we'll get to what this is all really about.
Okay, first things first. Let's completely dismantle this idea that a bigger paycheck automatically makes you wealthy. I know it sounds right, it feels logical, but trust me, it's a trap. People who think wealth is just money, they're stuck on this thing we could call the treadmill trap. They work so hard to get a raise, a bigger salary, but then what happens? The car gets nicer, the house gets bigger, the vacations get more expensive. They're just running faster and faster to stay in the exact same spot, never actually getting any closer to real freedom. Okay, so if wealth isn't just about having a huge income, then what is it? Let's totally shift gears here and look at this from a completely new and frankly much more powerful angle. So this is the most important takeaway. Wealth is a system that feeds itself. You can call it a flywheel, you can call it a cycle, it doesn't matter. The principle is what's key. Wealth creates more wealth. And look, if you weren't born with this system already up and running, you've got to build it. You just have to, piece by painful piece.
The good news is we're not inventing anything new here. People have cracked this code. The blueprint exists, and it all comes down to building and connecting 3 absolutely essential pillars. And here they are: earning, surplus, and ownership. It's that simple. First, you've got to bring money in the door. Second, and this is non-negotiable, you have to create a gap between what you make and what you spend. And third, you take that gap, that extra, and you use it to buy things that make even more money for you. Let's break them down.
Okay, pillar 1, earning. Now, most of the world gets stuck right here, selling their time for money, an hour of your life for a set number of dollars. And that is a very, very slow way to build anything. The better path? Getting paid for your results, for your unique judgment, your creativity, for the value you create. That's where your earning power can truly explode. And this just shows you everything about the second pillar, surplus. Just look at the difference here. It doesn't matter if you earn $1 million a year. If your surplus is razor thin, you are not building wealth. That wide gap between what's coming in and what's going out, that is the literal fuel for this entire system. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's almost too simple, so people tend to gloss over it. But building wealth literally cannot begin until you have that surplus. That's it. That's the starting line. Everything else comes after. So, what do you do with that surplus? Well, that's pillar 3, ownership. We're talking about using your fuel to buy assets, things that go up in value or produce income without needing more of your direct time. We're talking about businesses, real estate, a portfolio of stocks. This is how you finally make your money start working for you instead of the other way around.
All right, so let's actually watch this system come to life. Step 1, it all has to start with your ability to earn. That's the initial push.
And that income doesn't just get spent. No, it flows directly into creating a surplus. This is where you gather your fuel. And finally, you convert that fuel, that surplus, into ownership. And here it is. This is the magic moment. Those assets start generating new earnings all on their own, feeding the cycle, which creates a bigger surplus, which buys more assets, spinning that flywheel faster and faster and faster.
Now, this system, it's incredibly powerful, but it has one secret ingredient that honestly, most people just don't have the patience for. And that secret ingredient is time.
And this right here shows you why. Compound growth is a force of nature, but it needs a long runway. Look at that first decade. It's so slow. It feels like nothing is happening. But if you can just stick with it, If you let the system run without messing with it, the growth eventually just goes vertical. It takes off like a rocket. This might be the most important question of all. Because when that system finally starts to work, when it starts spitting out real money, the temptation to spend it, to upgrade your life, is huge. But every dollar you spend is a dollar you take away from your surplus. It's like hitting the brakes on your own flywheel. The hardest part of this whole thing isn't financial, it's psychological.
When you boil it all down, this is what you're left with. It all comes back to patience. Can you stay the course for years, maybe even decades? Because if you can, the results will be bigger than you can even imagine right now. Which brings us to the end, to the most important question. Why? Why do all of this? What's the point of all the discipline and patience? What's the actual prize at the end? And there it is, the simple truth that connects everything we've talked about. The money, the assets, the system. They're not the goal, they're just the tools. The goal isn't the pile of cash. The goal is what that cash buys you. And what it buys you is your time back. It buys you freedom.
This is the finish line. This is the whole point. You get to a place where your system, your flywheel is spinning so fast that it produces enough income to cover your life. You no longer have to trade your time for money. Work becomes a choice, not a requirement. You own your days. That is the definition of true freedom.
So I'll leave you with this one thought to chew on. After everything we've gone over, ask yourself this. What is one thing, just one small thing, you are going to do starting today to make time your ally instead of your enemy?